Climate change is a global problem, and here at the Birmingham Conference Centre in the heart of England, leaders of communities came together with experts to talk about what can be done to help the government meet a target of cutting emissions by 80%. Britain's Environment Minister outlined the background to the challenge.
We know our climate is changing. We've all seen it in rises in sea levels, and we felt it in the impacts of our hotter summers. Globally, 11 of the warmest years on record have occurred in the last 12 years. Last year, the UK, you will recall, had one of its worst ever droughts, followed by severe flooding this year, primarily from torrential rain. And the recent North Sea tidal surges in eastern England resulted in serious risk of coastal flooding, with 1,000 residents having to leave their homes until that risk subsided. These are the kind of events that we can expect to see happening with increasing frequency because of climate change.
Reducing emissions is not just a matter of protecting the environment, it's about social justice and sound financial management.
If we can achieve ambitious and purposeful actions on a global scale now, we can limit further changes to our climate and much more easily manage the changes that we can no longer avoid. This means the UK moving to a low-carbon economy and our people choosing a low-carbon lifestyle. Globally, cities consume 75% of the world's energy and produce 80% of its greenhouse gas emissions. But the concentrated populations of cities and localised economies make them ideally placed to lead the way in measuring, targeting and systematically reducing their carbon footprint.
The UK government will be the first to legislate for long-term reductions in emissions.
Government, local authorities, communities and businesses and individuals must work together as never before. Central government must provide the policy framework and freedom that allows local authorities to raise their game to the best. Local authorities need to set themselves ambitious targets on climate change and set about achieving these with gritty determination.
Birmingham is leading the way with a planned 60% reduction in emissions by 2026, 20 years ahead of national plans.
The critical areas are really looking at housing, because housing takes up a third of CO2 emissions within a city. And it's about existing housing, and we can do a lot more to improve, first of all, the energy efficiency of the housing, but also to embed more renewable technologies, and some of those are well proven now, like solar thermal panels can give very fast paybacks.
Conference organisers feel it's also important to have a broader vision for alternative power from tidal barriers.
We are finding that the accelerating melting of the poles is going to compel us to mount defences which really could combine a barrage with wave and tidal power. So it's not only the Severn barrage, but the potential in London, in the Thames, in the mouth of the Thames Gateway, for example, a barrage 10 miles wide that could supply a huge quantity of London's energy from renewable sources.
In 2008, the European Union will be setting targets for its members which will give further impetus to tackle climate change.